Hey everyone, my name is RCJ officially, and this is Find a Book and Read. So I hope that you guys have been enjoying this week, and I hope that you guys all had a really great Christmas if you celebrate Christmas. And believe it or not, we are only a few days away from celebrating the new year, finally, because 2020 has without a doubt been one of the most difficult and most annoying and upsetting years that we've probably ever lived. But hopefully you guys have been able to find ways to stay positive, and I hope that your families have all been safe, and I hope that you guys all had a safe Christmas and holiday season throughout the month of December. And as we go into 2021, my wish for everybody is that you can all just have a much better year, that we can all be more creative, that we are all able to read more, and that we can just enjoy life together again. Because one of the things that I miss is being able to connect with friends and family that right now we just can't. But super grateful for things like YouTube and other things that people have been using to stay connected. And so grateful that we're at least able to stay together in that way. Alright, so we're gonna go right into the video, but before we go into the content for today, I do want to go ahead and just remind everyone that if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification, and make sure that you select all so you get all the notifications for when my videos come up. And please feel free to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up so that we can get more views on this channel and get this community growing more and more. So as you can see by the title of the video, this is a huge book haul that I'm doing. I'm going to be hauling the books that I bought in the month of November, December, as well as books that I was gifted from a Secret Santa from somebody in a book club that I'm a part of. So let's start with this haul. Alright, the first book in the haul is going to be a book that I've already read. This will be the only book that I've already read in this entire haul. And that book is this really beautiful collector's edition of The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. It's got this really nice illustration, kind of like a flap, that is holding the cover together of the book. So it's got a pyramid on it, really nice font with like gold embezzlement, I guess maybe that's the right word. But then you take a look at the actual cover. It's got this really nice golden sun on there. Love how it looks, love how it makes this entire cover as well. And then you take the book out of that cover and you have this beautiful spine that you can actually see before even like actually taking it out. And then you have that beautiful cover again with that sun, that golden sun, and that beautiful font there. You open the book and it's got a great map of the entire place that the protagonist of the story journeys through. It's also in the back. And then the inside illustrations are really, really great. I think they really enhance a lot of the story for people who may be interested. And then it's got this really neat reading ribbon that I definitely love. Anything that has that is always like super like fancy for me. So this, again, a book about a young man who travels in search of treasure, and along the journey he finds out that the treasure that he thinks he's been searching for all along has not just been that one thing. So he discovers a lot of things, he grows a lot on the way, and this book made me cry. It is a really, really amazing book, and if you guys haven't read it, I recommend it. Super short read, less than 200 pages, probably about like 175 or so. Got this special edition. I hesitated for a while to get it, but I finally pulled the trigger back in November, and I'm glad that I finally have this here in my bookshelf. The next book that we've got in the haul is another book by Paulo Coelho. This is The Archer, and this story follows a retired archer who is challenged by this person, and this challenge is observed by a young boy. The young boy is amazed at the talent and skill that the archer has. And for me, after having read The Alchemist and seeing this book and reading what it was about, sounded like something that I would hopefully enjoy as much as I enjoyed The Alchemist. But it is a very completely different story about different things, and so I hope that whenever I get around to it, it really does end up being another favorite of mine by Paulo Coelho. But The Archer is another book that I decided to add to my library here at home. Next book we've got here is Beyond the Black Door by A.M. Strickland. This book is about a young girl who is a soul walker. Her mother is also a soul walker, and what that basically is that they are people with the ability to walk through people's souls, only while the people are sleeping. So this girl is haunted, maybe we could say, or at least sees this black door everywhere in every soul she goes. And she tells her mother. Mother says, you know what? Don't go into that door. If it keeps coming up, just ignore it. And of course, that's not gonna happen. Our main character decides to go in through that black door, especially because she starts hearing voices coming out of it, and the voice then starts to call on her specifically. So this book has a beautiful cover. That was one of the things that got me to want to even take a look at the synopsis for the book. It's got a really nice key, the keyhole, so you definitely are going to be in some kind or in some form or another entranced by this book. So sounds great, and a book that I was really happy to add to my library. Next book we got here is An Ember in the Ashes by Saba Tair. This is a book about a young girl or a young woman who lives under a very militaristic empire, and this empire seems to be very forceful, and nobody ever wants to go up against them. So one day the protagonist's brother gets arrested for treason against the empire. No reason yet, and guess unless you read the book, but the sister decides to get the help of some rebels who, in exchange for helping her get her brother out and free, ask her to spy on the top militia academy of the empire. And so it's within the empire's academy that she encounters a man who is the top soldier in the academy, and somehow, some way, they're both interconnected, and so sounds interesting. And by looking at the cover though, really simple. It's got this woman on the cover, she's looking super intently, and then there's this really mysterious, almost like Assassin's Creed kind of guy with some really cool swords and simple red color. I love it. I love the simplicity of it. This happens to be a signed copy that I got at Barnes & Noble, my local Barnes & Noble, so I'm really glad that I was able to find it, because I kept seeing this book in paperback and I really wanted it in hardcover, so I'm glad that I was able to find it in hardcover at my local Barnes & Noble. And also, this is the first book in a series. I believe that there are 4 books so far, so the 4th book just came out this month of December. And if I like this book and I continue reading, hopefully I get through to the end of the series, but we'll find out. For now, I'm glad that this is, again, a great pickup that I made in the month of November. Next up, we've got These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong. Really fun fact, Chloe Gong is only about 19 years old. She's still studying, but she's already got this amazing published book that so many people were excited to grab as soon as they found out what it was all about. The cover on this book is super beautiful. I love how there's this really amazing sword surrounded by a golden dragon, and it's got these really cool roses. Super simple, and then the text looks pretty cool as well. Love the way that the cover looks. The story is about a young woman who is the leader of a gang in 1920s Shanghai, China. Her name is Juliet. So Juliet is the leader of the Scarlet Gang, who is rival to the White Flowers, led by Roma. And this book, I'm sure if you've gone around BookTube or have seen different videos on this book, maybe you know that this is a retelling of Romeo and Juliet. I'll be honest with you guys, I am not a huge fan of the Romeo and Juliet story. I mean, I definitely know it because of school and stuff. Again, not the biggest fan. However, this sounds really good. Something happens with the 2 gang members, or rather the 2 gangs. Members of each of the gangs are killing themselves. And the back of the book actually says, "In glittering Shanghai, a monster awakens." So sounds like something mystical, magical is happening in this city of Shanghai. And of course, the rivalry between the 2 gangs, and Juliet and Roma once had a thing together, but Roma cheated or something happened there with Roma, and that relationship broke. So really interesting to find out what it is that's going to happen in this book. But again, I'm excited that I was able to get my hands on this copy, because this was the last copy at my Barnes & Noble at the time that it came out. So yeah. And on the same note of young authors, this book came out a few years back now, but this is Aragon by Christopher Paolini. At the time that Christopher released this book, he was 19 years old as well, and super like genius kid, I guess, because he graduated high school at 15 years old, I think I was reading. So that's like crazy. But anyway, this book I picked up because I'd seen it so many times years and years and years ago, and I never wanted to pick it up because I wasn't a huge reader before, and this is a pretty hefty book. It's almost about 500, if not 500 pages, super intimidating. But now that I do like reading, and now that I've given reading more of an opportunity, I thought it was a good time to pick it up, and I'm glad that I was able to get this copy, which is a signed copy. Yay for that. But this story, if you haven't read it, follows a young boy who finds a shiny stone, a shiny blue stone that ends up being a dragon's egg. And it sounds like dragons are really rare in this world where this book takes place. And so main character's name is Aragon. Aragon goes through this journey in this like really disastrous and terrible kingdom ruled by a horrible, horrible king. And this journey takes him to somehow, some way become a dragon rider. And I'm not sure what that means necessarily yet, but whenever I get around to reading that, I am sure that it's going to be a really great book. I know that there was a movie that was released years back too, but I don't think it was really well received. It's usually the case that books end up being way better than the movies, so can't wait to get to this one. Another really cool book that I picked up recently is The Awakening by Nora Roberts. The Awakening follows a woman who is a middle school teacher. She actually hates her job. She's only teaching because she needs to pay off some student loans, and she lives with anxiety. She has constant headaches, and she's constantly dreaming about dragons. And she knows that her dad used to tell her stories about dragons, but she's also pretty sure that being a person in the real world in the book, dragons are definitely not real. So that sounds interesting, right? And she meets, or rather encounters, this silver-haired man everywhere that she goes almost. And every time she confronts the guy, he like disappears. So another kind of like weird thing. She also has a really terrible relationship with her mom. So much so that the mother has kept a big secret from her, that she has kept $4 million in secret for a long time. And those $4 million are meant to be with our main character. I believe her name is Breen. And Breen is like super like caught off guard. How is it that you've hid this from me? So she somehow ends up getting the money and then travels out to Ireland because I guess she finds out somehow that her father lives out there. So she's not met her dad. It says that he's long lost. And in Ireland, she is taken into a forest randomly by a dog, and the dog takes her into an enchanted forest. And so I suppose that that's where most of our story will take place. But the cover is a really beautiful cover. It's got on the bottom the city of Philadelphia, where our main character is from. And then on the top part, it's got a forest representing, I'm sure, that enchanted place. And so hopefully it's definitely gonna have dragons, because I do think that dragons in stories are really fun and great to read about. I love seeing them in movies and stuff. And this is the first book in what is called the Dragonheart Legacy. So we'll see how this book goes. Hopefully in 2021 early I'm able to get into reading it. But in the meantime, I'm glad to add it to my library. Okay, this next book is by an author who's been a little bit controversial lately. It is a book by J.K. Rowling. J.K. Rowling's got some like really negative buzz kind of going on this year, but I got this book because I'm super nostalgic for her whimsical style of writing, especially because I grew up with the Harry Potter series and I really enjoyed that, and I loved the movies. And so the Ichabog is her latest middle grade book. Fun fact about this book is that she wrote this while she was writing Harry Potter because she wanted a story to be able to tell her daughters. And so she kind of put it away, forgot about it, and earlier this year, because of the pandemic, she decided to look through her old writing stuff, and she found it. She thought that it would be a great idea to release it, and she did. She released it online first, and then she thought that it would be fun if she got kids to illustrate the book. So the illustrations inside of this book are drawn by kids, and she put them in here, which is amazing, and released the actual physical book in the month of November. So I definitely had to get my hands on it. I can't tell you guys what this is exactly about. I haven't completely read the synopsis, but like I said, I saw the book, I got nostalgic, and I hope that whenever it is that I get around to it, it brings some kind of that Harry Potter nostalgia. Has nothing to do with Harry Potter though, so we'll see what the story is about. But yes, the Ichabog by J.K. Rowling. All right, changing genre, we're gonna go into sci-fi out of fantasy, and this book is a book that I was super excited to get my hands on. First off, the cover alone is really cool. Personally, it kind of vibes me some like Star Wars a little bit, but definitely has nothing to do with Star Wars, I'm sure. And the spine actually continues a maze on the spine of the Ready Player One book, which is the first book of this series, and it's really neat. I thought that Ernest Cline did an amazing job with wanting to do that again. So Ready Player 2 is the continuation of Ready Player One, a book that came out, I believe, in like 2012, years and years ago. It's already been, but the movie came out, and that's how I found out about this book series. I loved the movie. My little brother watched it all the time, and so I started reading it. It's actually one of my current reads, and so far the book is definitely different from the movie. So whenever I get around to this, I'm curious to see if they ever wanted to do a film adaptation, how they would do it. But this book continues on with that first book. Literally starts off with after Wade having won the contest, a very special Easter egg left by James Halliday, the creator of the Oasis, which is this like huge like virtual reality place that a lot of people dive into, and it becomes a place of escaping the horrible actual real life world that people live in. Kind of scary, reminds me of like what we're kind of living in, but definitely the book is on a whole other level. So he discovers that James Halliday left a very secret, very amazing last Easter egg for the winner to find. And this Easter egg ends up being something cool, but super dangerous if ever released into the world. And so obviously some people must know about it. That's where our story picks up. The book was a little bit controversial when it came out because people thought that the first book was so good that this book did not need to be in existence. But then I went on and read that people were loving the book. So Ready Player 2 is definitely a very highly anticipated read from me, and I'm just glad that I have both Ready Player 1 and Ready Player 2 now. This next book was written by a booktuber. I didn't even know that she was a booktuber, the author, when I picked this book up. I'm gonna butcher her last name because I really don't know how to pronounce it. But this book is Again But Better by Christine Riccio. Sorry, I don't know how to say the last name. Again, I got this book because the cover looked super simple but still caught my attention. And then I read the synopsis. This story is about a young woman who is studying in college. She's a straight A girl. She does her assignments. She's super rigid with her schedule, doesn't go out to any parties. And one day she just kind of decides that she's not really living life. She decides to study abroad in London, and it's there that she discovers that trying to change what you've been for so long is not easy, even if it's something that you think is going to be good for you. It sounded interesting. I can't wait to actually get to it. But yeah, I didn't know that the author was a booktuber, but I'm glad to have it in my library as well. And the final book that I purchased in the month of November was Barack Obama's A Promised Land. This book was a book that I was really anxious to have in my library, and as soon as I knew that this book was being published, which was back in September was when I found out that this was going to be published, I was really excited. I even pre-ordered it, but I ended up canceling the pre-order because once I saw it like everywhere, my pre-order wasn't arriving until like the Friday, and books are usually released on a Tuesday. So I was like, I'm gonna cancel the order and I'm gonna just go and pick it up at my local bookstore, which is what I did. But Barack Obama's The Promised Land is the first book in a volume of 2 books that he's going to be releasing. This is a pretty big book. It's like 700 or so pages long, and it's about President Barack Obama's journey to the White House and then stories of the White House during his presidency. I really enjoyed his wife Michelle Obama's Becoming book. I thought it was really great. I love the audiobook. I did read both physically and did the audiobook for that, and I have started the audiobook for this book as well as reading a little bit of it physically. But I just love hearing their voices. They're so welcoming, they're so inspiring, and it's so motivating every time they hear them speaking. At least that's a personal opinion, but I was really excited to pick this book up, so I'm glad that I have it, and hopefully the next volume is not as big as this guy, but it is going to be a very good read, I'm sure, and I've already heard a lot of really good things about this book. Alright, so that was the last book that I hauled in the month of November. Now, these next 3 books are going to be books that I got in the month of December. The first book being Rebel Rose by Emma Theriault, I think that's how you say it. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing it. But this is a book that I actually hesitated for a very long time whether I wanted to actually get it, or rather I should say a few weeks, because this just came out in the month of November. And it is a continuation of the story of Beauty and the Beast, specifically though following Belle. And Belle has now, she's gotten rid of the curse from the castle, she's got the Beast back to being a human, and now she is royalty. So it's going to follow her life in the castle as royalty after having wanted to not be a part of the town anymore, and she comes from being a peasant, so there's going to be change that is going to be very difficult for her. There's going to be obstacles that she's going to have to overcome having that transition from being a peasant to royalty, and it is a story that happens during the French Revolution, so she also has to deal with everything going on with that. So it's a lot going on. She discovers a mirror that tells her a very scary and dangerous kind of future, and so of course that adds more to the mystery and to the awesome story, I suppose. I haven't read it, but it sounds interesting, and I hope that if I do read it, I do end up liking it, because it is the first book in a new series called The Queen's Council, where the books are going to be following the Disney princesses after the events of, whatever the movie happened, and into whatever is going to be after their happily ever after. So Rebel Rose, again, a book that I was a little hesitant on, but we'll see how it goes. But nonetheless, it is now in my library. Alright, next book we got here is The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. This is a book that was highly recommended to me by one of the people that usually help me at the Barnes & Noble. Shout out to you, Griffith, for helping me pick this book out, because after having gotten these Violent Delights, he thought that I might be interested in it, and it definitely sounds like a really good story. I couldn't find it in hardcover for a while, and so actually maybe about a few days ago, to be honest, is when I found it, and so I ordered it and I got it in, and it's got a beautiful cover, super simple. It's got this ink kind of smoke illustration on the cover, and then it's got this really nice drawing of, I believe, maybe our main character. So our main character, her name is Rin. Rin has been an orphan, and she got into this really top tier academy, a military academy actually, and so defying all the odds, because people, number one, didn't think that she would ever get into the school, and she did. But even after she gets into the school, she's bullied because, number one, she's a girl, number two, she's a dark-skinned girl, and so the people that are in the academy are kind of after her, but she ends up developing this power called shamanism, and I'm not sure yet what that means, but she gets these powers that come from a god of some sort, and I believe that the god is like a phoenix. I could be wrong in that context, but there is something magical that happens, of course, how she obtains that power, and of course, by the title, some kind of a war is being fought, and it is a Poppy War. This is going to be the third war, the start of the third Poppy War at the time of this book. And so something's going on, and I'm sure that she's going to play a huge role in that. Nonetheless, this is going to be a very exciting read, but this is the first book in a series of, I believe, 3 books. And the latest book just came out this month as well, this month of December. So if I like this book, I'll continue on with the series. Like I said, it sounds like a really great read. I'm sure that I'm probably more than likely going to be getting the other books, hopefully in 2021. All right, and the last book that I got in the month of December is A Good Neighborhood by Therese Ann Fowler. This is a very simple book, but also sounds like a very powerful book. So this story follows our main character, whose name is Valerie, and she is a single parent. She's raised her biracial son, as it says in the synopsis, and she's super excited and she's super proud of her son. But one day, these new neighbors move in, the Whitmans, and it describes them as a traditional family. So not sure what that means, but based on their last name, they might be a white family moving into this new home. The person who Valerie is sounds like she's a kind and loving person, but there seems to be some kind of an issue with an old oak tree that is in Valerie's property that kind of then creates a feud between the Whitmans and Valerie. And then her son falls in love with one of the Whitmans' daughters, and that doesn't seem to be like it's gonna go well either. So somehow these people are gonna have to set those differences aside to be able to continue having a good neighborhood. See what I did there? All right, next book that I have here is the first book that I got in my Secret Santa with the book club that I'm a part of. So shout out to all of them, and a special shout out to the person that got me as their Secret Santa, and that was Jessica. So thank you, Jessica, for the books, because she got me 3 and she really didn't have to do that, but she did, and she was really great, and I'm super grateful. So this book that she got, this first book she got me, is Instant Karma by Marissa Mayer, and I wanted to pick this book up because I really personally enjoyed the Renegades book. I have the 3 books in that trilogy. I've only finished the first book, so goal for 2021 is to finish that series. But Instant Karma is a book that is a little bit different from that, where it's not necessarily sci-fi, but it sounds kind of whimsical in the fantasy genre. So this is a story about a young woman who is like super judgmental about lazy people, people who are arrogant, people who are rude, and she wishes that she could cast instant karma on them. So one day, after having gone out with some friends, she wakes up to have the ability to give people instant karma, which actually sounds really cool. And she is casting all this instant karma on people that she, thinks is lazy, arrogant, or what have you. And she's so frustrated that she can't get one person to get instant karma. And that person is her lab partner. I believe his name is Quint. Yes, his name is Quint. I had to double check. But Quint, for some reason, is not able to receive instant karma, and it describes him as being cute for her, so I'm sure there must be some kind of like love relationship that'll build between the two of them. But sounds like an interesting read. I picked it up because I enjoyed her Renegades book, and this just kind of sounds like a very interesting, different kind of story, but still within that magical kind of context. So Instant Karma. All right, this book is a book that has been on my radar for a while, ever since I believe the month of September sometime. I came upon it and I thought that it would be a great book to add to my collection because I've got the Caraval series that people compare this book to, or rather they compare Caraval to this book, yeah. And this book is about a circus that appears out of nowhere from one day to the next, and it's a really amazing place. It's got what you would expect at a circus, but the interesting thing about it is that there is a secret game or competition that is going on between 2 very important illusionists. And so one of the illusionists is a woman, the other one is a man. You can obviously see where this is gonna go. Some kind of a relationship forms, but unfortunately, these illusionists aren't able to do what they want because they do have masters. And these masters do not like that they are falling in love while they are playing this game. Unbeknown to the woman and the man illusionists, only one of them can come out victorious. And that doesn't sound good. So the masters are conspiring against them so that they don't fall in love, and so that, of course, one of their champions can win. But with whatever it is that happens, it ends up hurting not just our main characters, but also the people who attend the circus. So sounds crazy, sounds interesting. I'm here for it, and it's here for me because it's finally in my library. Last book in the haul, and that is going to be The Starless C by Erin Morgenstern, same author of The Night Circus, which I forgot to mention that the author of The Night Circus is Erin Morgenstern. But this story follows a young man who doesn't know exactly, but he is searching for a very specific door, and he comes across this mysterious book. It's old kind of looking book. It's got some really interesting stories, but what really catches his attention is that it has a story about him during his childhood. And again, the book is an old book, so our main character's like, wait, how is it that this book has a story about me? So it takes him on this journey where he meets two other characters. It takes him through this whimsical place. I'm sure that this is going to be another really good book. I've heard mixed reviews about it, but nonetheless, I'm glad that I have it. It's got this beautiful cover with these keys, and it describes in the synopsis that the book has a bee, a sword, and a key. And it's a little hard to tell just from far away, but with a little help with behind the scenes magic with the camera, you'll be able to see that the main key at the center of the cover of the book does have a bee. There is a sword there, and of course the key itself. So The Starless C, Erin Morgenstern, another great addition to my library, and the final book in this haul. That's it. That is the end of the haul. Guys, I cannot even begin to tell you how exhausted my voice is. This is a lot of books that are already now off camera. You can't see them, but my voice is tired. This is actually the third attempt at making this video. The first time I wasn't happy with it. The second time everything was great, but when I went into the computer to try to edit, gone. The SD card would not read. I tried to put it in the camera thinking maybe like something will make it work. Did not work. I was so upset. So I took a break and came back to it, but nonetheless, my voice still feels tired. I don't even know if you guys can hear how tired it sounds, but thank you guys for sticking around with it. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't even know how long this video is gonna end up being, but hopefully it's not over like 25 minutes. Although if it is, you guys are the best. And you know what you should do? You should hit that like button because you guys stuck through it till the very end. You should also hit the subscribe button if you haven't, because you're going to want to keep coming back for different books, different reviews, different videos on this channel where we're going to continue on with my new journey into reading. So please go ahead and do those things, as well as hit that bell notification so that you guys know when I upload new videos. Make sure you select all, because otherwise you're only going to get a video notification whenever YouTube thinks that it's good for you to get a hey little tap on the back. RCJ officially, he released another video. So thank you guys all so much. If I don't see you guys in a video before the end of the year, you guys are amazing. Thank you guys for being a part of this new journey with me. Please continue to be a part of the community because I am so much enjoying this. Comment down below if you are interested in any of the books that I hauled in this video. And if you have any of these books, let me know how much you liked them, how much you didn't like them. But don't spoil it for me because I do want to get to these books regardless. They are already here. We'll see you all in 2021. And in the meantime, find a book and read. Happy New Year, everyone. Bye.